about will. In Nigeria, it's something that is quite disheartening. I'm not going to be looking at widowhood practices, but I will be looking at something close to it, which is the will inheritance system in our country. Some are matrilineal, some are patriarchal, and a whole lot of things come out of it, especially when it affects the woman. And when it affects the woman, the entire children are affected. My name is Elizabeth. It is a conversation we'll be having and have an array of personalities. I'm not saying they've had experience directly, but I can assure you that they've had experiences that they are willing to share and, of course, lead us towards solution. Let's get to introduce them. I have the first one, and he's a gentleman. So, have you done your will? You answered that letter.
Yeah. Good morning. My name is Ojile Abanatanye. I'm a legal practitioner, a social commentator, and an analyst.
Okay.
Good to be here.
Good to have you.
Hi, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here. My name is Lynette Ikwen. I'm a broadcast presenter, I'm a philanthropist, many other things, especially cutting-edge technology.
Okay, so now we're talking about philanthropy. Yes. You're going to have to drop that glasses on your head.
It's not a problem.
So you're dropping it. That's part of philanthropy.
Not a problem. It can be donated. Not a problem.
Hi, I'm Dr. Stella Iwagu. I'm a nurse midwife, a public health professional, a farmer, and a human rights activist.
Did you say farmer?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. Okay, we'll get to that. But all the same, our topic today is the inheritance system in Nigeria. It's a course that we can never get exhausted or tired speaking of. But let's quickly look at something. When we come back, we delve into it full time. Don't go away.
The word inheritance connotes diverse meanings to diverse communities, both the patrilineal and the matrilineal. Across the world, there are matrilineal societies. These are places where the family history is traced from the woman and she's also the family head. Though this is commonly associated with indigenous American and Asian cultures, it also occurs in Africa and in Nigeria to be specific. When adhering to the patriarchal system in pre-colonial Nigeria, there were some civilizations that practiced aspects of matrilineal or matrilineal society. Property and hereditary roles could be passed down from the mother, thus coexisting with an already male-controlled system. There are several variations of this across the southern parts of Nigeria, particularly in Cross River states. The Mbembe and the Yakurr, distinct tribes in the Middle Cross River region. The Bakor or Abanyom, a group of tribes from the same clan system in Cross River. Afikpo, an Igbo town in Ebonyi State, and Ohafia, an Igbo community in Abia State with ties to Cross River. These are all groups of peoples that have either practiced matrilineal in the past or still continue to adopt characteristics of it in their ways of life. For instance, family ancestry can be determined from both the father and the mother, or the father's lineage is solely acknowledged, but land, houses, and other structural properties are passed down to the children from their mother. Despite the advent of Christianity and British colonialism, some communities in Nigeria still observe customs of the matrilineal system of inheritance. The pertinent questions to ask are: 1. Are there benefits to this? 2. What happens when abuse sets in under this practice?
All right, while that was going on, we're trying to, define what matrilineal system is and how it differs from the patrilineal. And I recall I was saying that the matrilineal, the woman is the head of a family. So you trace the generational tree from the woman, not from the man, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So you have things, if it's Nabriba, you have things we call Iku. And Iku means descendant of a particular family, and if you trace it, that family usually comes from the woman, probably the first woman. And if you're married from outside of Abriba, like my mother is, automatically, since you don't have a family within there, you're also part of your husband's family. So you belong to the same tree. But then that's explaining matrilineal, and I noticed a lot of people were like, wow, what's wrong? It has its own advantage, by the way. We'll get to all that later. But let's see, what's your take on our heritage system as a barrister?
Yeah, thank you very much. In Nigeria, we have the rules, the Wills Act that governs what should happen to someone after his demise. Usually, especially where the person dies leaving a will. Where he died without a will, he died intestate. But where he died with a will, what it means is that we have laws that guides what should happen to him, especially where he left what should happen to his properties after his demise. So where we have such a case, it will be very difficult for one's culture or practices to come in and override what the law says, especially, like I said, where he has a will. What will happen is that his will will take prominence of what he wants. And what is the will? This is a document. This is a legal document whereby you're envisaging what should happen to you or your property after your demise. And where such documents are registered and kept where they should be kept, nobody comes from nowhere to say, no, we should go the other way. So where you have this will is what takes effect. And it's usually after your demise. A will does not operate while you're still alive. It's usually after the death of someone who has a will.
You're speaking, and I'm having a flashback of certain things that may have transpired in my life, or certain things I have read about, and I'm trying to look at customary law, will. How does it interplay? I mean, what's customary law in the first place? Isn't it where the traditional law is, plays supremacy over the common law? I don't know.
No, you see, customary law generally is that custom, that practices that regulates a particular set of group, right?
Okay.
Yes. Ordinarily, before now, the practice is that, even now to some extent, the practice is where a loved one dies, what they practice in their culture comes to take prominence as to what should happen to his property, sometimes even his children, even his wife. But the law is that where you left a will behind, the will take prominence.
So the customary law, the practices of the people will no longer affect
what you have. It won't affect the will.
Okay.
What it means is the will is supreme. It does not matter what your culture defines. You define what you want to happen to your assets.
Exactly.
To your children, to your wife, to your husband, because also women die. Mm-hmm. So the culture has its practices. Some of them good, some of them not so good. So especially if you come from a culture that have some cultural practices that might harm or dispossess your loved ones, it will be sheer wickedness not to define what you want to happen. Because if you don't leave a will, it means you agree that what happens in your culture should happen to your family, that your family should be, what happens in their life should be defined by what is happening in your culture. If you've not left the will, then you absolutely agree with that culture, because that is exactly what will happen. But if you are not comfortable with the cultural practices, then you must leave a will.
Simple.
And that will gives your loved ones the backing they need to get the protection they deserve
when you're not there.
Exactly. And I really think if you love your family, the most important thing you should do is protect them. That's what will does. It protects them.
Okay. Now, I'll still get back to you because I know that beyond just being a common lawyer, you also have, the Sharia law within your doorposts. I know that that's also your area of specialization. What you're saying about the supremacy of the law, against the customary practices, is it also obtainable in Islam?
You see, the beautiful thing about the Islamic system is that it has its own defined, codified law, which is the Sharia law, right? And in the Sharia law, in the practices of the Sharia law, it has already spelled out the issue of inheritance. As we speak, it has spelled it out, what should happen to who, who should get what, and all that. The beautiful thing about it is that the Holy Quran has distilled who get what, when, and how. So it is not subject to the practices of the people, the customs of the people. No. It is in the Holy Quran what should happen to who. Let me give an instance. I know in the course of my studies in the university, I know I did Islamic law to the 500 level, and to some extent, I know much about it also. One of a common practice is this, that a male child gets ×2 what a female child gets.
Why?
It's there in the Quran. And also going further, you see, we have a different school of thoughts in the Islamic jurisprudence. We have the Shafi'i school of thought, the Hanbali, the Sunni, and the Maliki school of thought. We practice the Maliki school of thought in Nigeria. And this is what is stated there. This is who gets what, when, and how. And to a large extent, it goes beyond giving shares to just your immediate family members. You can give to a close friend, you can give to somebody who has served you. There are all provisions for it in the Holy Quran.
The question is, yes, does the Sharia provision supersedes a will? If I leave a will, this is how I want my property to be shared. Will someone come, throw that will away and say, we will be guided by the Sharia law?
The good thing about it, the Sharia law is majorly what is guided majorly with what is in the Holy Quran and the hadiths of the Holy Prophet.
I understand that.
Beautiful. It is something that I want to believe. You can't go away out of it, especially if you're a practicing Muslim and you don't.
I am a practicing Muslim.
Good.
But I might probably be a funky practicing Muslim that want to ensure that I want to leave my asset, A, B, C, D, that might be different from what is in the Quran or what is in the Sharia law. Because really, Nigeria is running several systems. Here, it's like, religion is a kind of culture, really. We're saying that in this part of the country, your will supersedes the custom. And here, we're saying your will do not supersede the Sharia law. That I just want to understand that.
Okay. If I'm to answer it straightforward, I will just tell you that the Sharia law is recognized by the Constitution, right? The practice of Sharia is in our Constitution.
How does it code with the common law? Because the common law says the will is the ultimate.
Yes.
Does it differ by...
You see, the common law is not the Constitution, right? The common law, the Wills Act, is not the Constitution.
Is it not derived from the Constitution? Is it varies from the Constitution?
No, it is a law that is made by the National Assembly.
All law must draw from the Constitution. If the law varies from the tenets of the Constitution, then that law...
No, the law does not vary from the tenets of the Constitution. But if we talk about, we have the Child Rights Act, we have other laws being made by the National Assembly, right? The Wills Act, right, is also a making of the National Assembly. They are all there. They are not the Constitution. That is why
they are drawn
you can see
from the strength of the Constitution.
Yes, if it is you are drawn from the strength of the Constitution, but it's not the Constitution per se. The Constitution did not enforce, did not make it compulsory that you and I must have a will. No. So it is not an imposition from the Constitution.
Really enshrined.
It's an act. You can choose to have a will. I can choose not to have. I cannot choose to have.
Okay, now, where one has chosen to have a will, I'm going to dwell a little bit more with Doc here with us on this aspect. I also know you've been part of it too, where women are dispossessed, you know. You've had several encounters. You want to share some of these things with us? I mean, there is this scenario where a will is given and the brothers, the sisters get up and say, you're a visitor. You don't belong here, so we're not going to give you this.
Yeah, there are cases like that I've witnessed in court, and even just recently, the Supreme Court gave a judgment whereby before now, in some part of eastern part of the country, where female child are not recognized to partake in the will, in the properties of their parents. But of late, the Supreme Court have nullified such practices and said no, it is alien to us. Usually practices that are against natural equity and good conscience, right? They usually do not they usually are frowned at. And with the recent decision of the Supreme Court, I don't have the case handy here, it has given that girl child the right to also partake in the property of his late parents. Just like you said, one can leave a will, and in the will, you ensure that you make provision for your female daughter. But after your demise, you discover some practices will still want to remove such persons, such a child, such a female child, from enjoying what the father or the mother, as the case may be, have left behind. But the position as at today is that such a person can go to court and challenge it.
Now that's beautiful. I've watched the both of you. It's been so beautiful, actually. You know, like we need to do this again. At the age of 10, I happen to be an observant person, and I have a keen and alert mind. When I sit with people, I don't just wallow away. I take in the environment and try to understand everything going on and how I can be better if the environment doesn't suit me. Now, at the age of 10, I noticed my dad is the last born of his family. And so I noticed that the firstborn always wanted to impose some things on my father. It happened that we grew up abroad for a while before we returned. And I found it very strange. Now, having some exposure, schools and all of that, from the Western background, I couldn't understand why his elder brother should come and make decisions in our home. And then I couldn't understand why whenever he came around, Daddy was nervous. But he was never nervous around his dad. His elder brother felt like he was the custodian or family guardian or something. So he wanted things to be done traditionally. You dare not. He would come and he would insist. And then I couldn't speak my language at the time. I wasn't happy with that. And I asked my dad one day, I probably was his favorite at the time, I don't know, first girls and their dads, I don't know. And I said, Daddy, why is it that you like doing whatever your elder brother asks you to do? He said, well, you know, in the family you need to respect people and all of that. But that didn't go well with me, because I'd seen situations where my classmates had lost their parents and their situation just became so poor. You know, they were coming to school with torn uniforms and all of that. And I couldn't understand. What happened? Our father died. Yeah, so what happened? Well, they've shared everything. Shared what? I don't understand. People who used to come to school in official cars with ACs and everything, they're now trekking to school. That bothered me. And so I went and asked my dad. I said, Daddy, if you die today, what will happen to us? He said, I'm not dying anytime soon. I said, but you don't know that. He looked at me and said, do you want me to die? I said, no. But I've seen that if you die, your elder brother is going to kick us out and mommy. We'll be on the street. He's not friendly. He's not nice. Something needs to be done.
Okay.
And then I insisted that he should write a will. I kept pressing my father till he wrote that will. And when he did, he came to me and said, I have written a will and this is my lawyer. At the age of 10. It happens, to God be the glory, my father is still alive. But it got to a point where he had to break off a bit from some of the terrible things his elder brother would impose. Please, bring money, we need to go and search and ask questions. Ask questions about what? Where are you searching?
Google.
Google, I know, right? So that's the thing. These traditions need to go because they're robbing us. The white man, I respect them for something. They make each other grow. But we pull ourselves down because of traditions and cultures that do not help anyone. I have a friend whose father was very wealthy, owns lots of properties and all of that. His father is late. He left a will. The mom refused to enforce it. The family got split. Some of the children took her to court. The daughters and some other people supported her. And then the rest that couldn't tolerate it are fighting. I found that terrible. What happens? I don't know why. According to her, she says, if one person dies or the leader dies, then the next leader should take over. That's her take. Whether the will favored her or not, what should happen in that kind of case?
Right? What should happen in that kind of case?
The will is the will.
The will
Exactly.
is the will.
The will.
The will is the will. The will should be read and enforced. And if it's not enforced, you recourse to the law.
It turns out that she's a lawyer.
Well, she's a lawyer. She's not above the law. She's
So
not
she
a
must
judge,
know
too.
these things.
She's a lawyer. She's not a judge.
There are documents that she has refused to sign.
So let me, for our audience really, let's reinforce how important this is. It is so sad that as a parent, you work so hard, deny yourself so much to build an asset base. Who are you leaving it for? For your family. How is it that you do not find a way to ensure that harmony exists? My father is no more today, but the one important thing is harmony must exist. His grandfather, my grandfather, before he passed, while he was still alive, he shared, over here we're writing will and putting everything in hiding. Hey, this is what I want. The day I don't want it that way anymore, I'll change it. But things happen. Why all the secrecy about your asset? I've seen people that passed away and their family have no clue about what asset that they have.
It doesn't make
what
sense.
Are you hiding? Who are you building it for?
It doesn't make sense.
And really, because when you go, you are not going with anything.
That's the beauty of
and
it.
it will be sad that you leave and people are dying and killing themselves over something you've worked so hard for. If you're not sure who to give it to, will it to charities. Some people will do some good work out of it. Yes, it's also an option, because sometimes we accumulate all of this and then our relative and our children become lazy and think, okay, they're the practical, okay, they pray for me to die. So that can be a scenario sometimes. They're just waiting, somebody might kill you. That is a possibility, So that makes us to actually create balance in acquisition. You see, there are people that create trust. There are will. You can also have a trust where nobody gets access to it, but it continues to, because sometimes you build all this empire and your children run it down and 10 years down the line it doesn't even exist. So we need to leave legacy. It's about really building legacy. Build institutions that live beyond you. And that institution will practically continue to provide for your family and the causes you hold dear. You're talking about philanthropy. It's one thing we're not really putting a lot of energy in. To leave a legacy.
Doc, without meaning to cut you short, I know that you fight the cause of people who are dispossessed. I'd like to know, how has the struggle been for the woman? You know, I really want to pin it down to the woman, because ultimately we are the punching bag when it comes to culture and a lot of things like that.
Yes.
So what has been, you know, your experiences with that struggle?
It's been very difficult, especially when you're dealing with deep cultural practices. The woman is often dispossessed, not only dispossessed of her property, of her husband's property, sometimes even of the children.
How?
They take the children away. There are situations.
I don't understand.
They take the children away.
Oh, no.
I'm telling you that that's what you ask me for experience. They take the children away. Sometimes they leave the children and the woman.
Were these children adopted or given birth by this woman?
They just go and sleep
They
in some other person's
believe
house.
that the children are my brother's children.
Yeah, so they're my children.
The children is our children.
Yeah.
You on your own.
I grew
So
up
if you don't
hearing
build a
that kind of
relationship,
thing.
you don't have a relationship, when your husband, if you don't have a good relationship with your husband's family, when he passes, you might find yourself standing alone in the rain, even without your children. A woman, you know, you can dispossess a woman of property. When you dispossess her of her children, you might as well have killed her.
Exactly.
Okay? Because she has no more reason to live. For many of us women, our children are a reason dear, to the reason we live. So that is the extreme case it happens. Especially in the early times of HIV, I remember cases we had to write letters, we have to even engage Gani Falami at some time, we have to engage Falana at some time, because it's a pro bono case. We're looking for lawyers that can afford to defend these people without charging them.
Next time, you do it.
Thank you very much.
I'll be very glad to do
we
that.
may also have to build. We have worked with Nigerian Bar Association in some cases. They come in to help. But you know, when you're being represented by someone you're not paying, you often do not get the best. So it's really a struggle, and it's something that even as women looking for good causes that we might begin to invest in, to create a fund that would ensure that women in this situation gets the best, not the crumbles, and is properly funded. Because
you know, you talk about women. I have always said there's something not right, because even in these practices, you're Igbo. The Umuadas are often the one that, you know, inflicts this pain on their fellow women. Why is that so? We don't like it, and we seem to be practicing it, you know, and, you know, giving it out, dishing it out to other people, but we don't want to take it.
So those are part of the conversation that we have. That when I have opportunity to speak with women during their broad meetings, during the gatherings, how can we say we are fighting the cause of women, and then we are the one that enforce pain on women? I remember a situation, if I can refer to my family, my brother's wife wants to go to a different church. I mean, it's as simple as even the freedom of religion.
Are you serious?
She wants to serve in a different church. And somebody's like, in my family, like, why is you not going to the same church your husband is going? And as an Ada, they want me to come in and, you know, put my feet down. That you must. I say, hey, I really believe that she's a human being. She has the right to go to worship. Freedom of religion. No, when we say this human right thing, we say it in the ether out there. But when it comes to actually practicing it on a day-to-day basis, we revert back to culture. We know we run back to culture when we are in our comfort zone.
Especially when it doesn't favor you.
When it doesn't favor you. But really what I tell people, do unto others as you want them to do unto you. And what you don't like, change is now. Be the change you seek. And another thing I talk, even with widowhood practice, that I tell, like, we, the elite, we, the educated ones, we are the ones that need to stand strong for change, because we can stand whatever they bring on. But there are a lot of people who do not have the support system or the voice to be able to stand for themselves. So we must change that, and it's a gradual process, because when it rains, it might rain on all of us.
Exactly.
Really, because there's no guarantee, and we must be the change we seek. I am calling on women, do not hurt another woman. What do you want for your daughter-in-law? I mean, if she makes your son happy, then be happy for her and be happy. So it starts with mother-in-laws, it starts with sister-in-laws, where you think because somebody has the authority to marry your brother or marry your son, doesn't make her a slave. It makes her an asset. because your son's happiness, your brother's happiness depends on this woman. So from my perspective, she's the queen. If my brother is happy, if my son is happy, I'm in heaven. I will clean your shoes, really. But
yeah, you know, that's the beauty of marriage. When the partner is happy, you know, my brother, if his wife makes him happy, it's easy for me to go in and, you know, that pretentious squeezing of face. So they can ask me, what's the problem? I'm like, I need this, you know. So, but when he's upset,
Unhappy,
if I go, he screams at me.
Of course.
That's how life is. But let's see, this conversation is not happening just within the four of us. There are people who are, you know, writing in. Let's see if they can make contributions to our topic. Good morning, moderator. Concerning the issue of will, testament, sometimes after the death of a principal, a section of the children of a principal contest the will of their father. In a situation like that, what happens? That's Bob Manuel T. from River State.
Yes, you see, we're just talking about will generally. The wills have characteristics. They have the test which they pass through to know how valid they are. Of course, there are instances where wills are being challenged in court, most especially when such wills are gotten under fraud, misrepresentation, and so many more other factors. For instance, a testator, right, who probably on his sick bed.
Also, who be tested?
A testator is someone that left a will, right? So probably
That's the principal now.
the principal, yeah, however we want to call it. So probably on his dying bed, probably he doesn't have that mental capacity to put down something, or he was influenced, or he's influenced, most especially from a polygamous family. Maybe one of the wife has a domineering influence against the man, and he decides to distribute the share, leaning more on one side than the other. Of course, if there are instances like that, and you can prove same, it can be challenged in court, right? It can be challenged in court. But there's one point that we need to stress and make here quickly. You see, when a typical Nigerian and Africans especially, when you talk about will, the next thing is that you are wishing me death, or I'm wishing the other person
But
death.
Lynette's daddy wrote will when she was just 10.
It's a courageous step she took, and I'm so shocked at age 10. I really commend you. You see, the beautiful thing is this: when you talk about will, we're not talking about that you're going to die soon. After all, nobody who knows who will even die first before the other. But there's something that the will takes care of, that even in your grave you'll be very happy about. Just like what Dr. have rightly pointed out, the ugliest scenario that we've seen from her narration, those kind of practices can be cured in your will.
May I ask you a question? I think from what this person is really, can you educate us and the viewers, how do you ensure that your will is valid? What are the steps that you need to take? I know you need to write it. I know that it needs to be witnessed. I know that it needs to be signed. I know it needs to be given to someone. So maybe if you put those steps, because scribbling something doesn't really make it a will.
Exactly.
So what are the things that defines a will?
Beautiful. Thank you very much for that question. You see, the thing is this: there is no particular format in which a will must be written. But the law is that it has to be in writing, black and white. It has to have witnesses, the people witnessing it must not necessarily know the content of what is there. I can call people together and say, see, look at this document. This is my will. I'll turn the back page. Help me to sign here, sign here. You can also, if possible, you can also sign each of the pages. That is another validity of making it genuine, right? I am doing it in presence of not just one person, two, sometimes it doesn't even have.
Must those people also be, beneficiaries of the will?
Usually, they are not, because they are the people, and they are not just any kind of person you just pick. Sometimes you can get your lawyer to witness. You can get your pastor, your priest. You can get somebody who is respected in the family right? Who cannot, like I said, they must not necessarily know the content. You tell them, this is my will. Like, let me cite an instance. The late Gani Fayemi, you just mentioned, when he was doing his, he did it in front of a camera in his chambers with his lawyers, everybody, and said, this is my will. They all signed. And after his demise, till date, we've not had any issue, because you can't doubt such a will. So wills are something that should have, to a very large extent, the genuineness of it, right? You can't just do a will and hide it and nobody knows about it, and probably they were just searching your box one day and discovered. No,
okay,
of course you can.
Must there be a legal stamp on it?
Yes, not just a legal stamp. It can also be registered at the probate unit of the High Court.
Okay.
Once it is done and it's kept there, of course, you can notify whoever cares to listen that I have a will, is in the court.
All right, so let's quickly take another one. Male gets double shares because a man's responsibility is more. So whatever he gets, it will be enjoyed by others, unlike a female who does not have anyone under her. Really?
Really?
Okay.
How about the children?
The female does not have children. No, have
Really?
Wow.
Okay, that's your opinion. I will not talk. My question is, does a single lady who is not married have a right to inheritance in her father's house? That's coming from Treasure Yakurr from Abia State.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Okay.
That she's not married doesn't mean she does not have needs and responsibilities. And really, the will may not even provide for your will needs and responsibilities. It is how the owner of the money wants to give it.
Exactly.
It is prerogative.
Can I quickly chip in here? You see, when we talk about leaving properties or leaving something in a will, I've witnessed a will in the Lagos High Probate Division, High Court Probate Division in Lagos, where a father, what he left for one of his sons was insults and curses.
Wow.
So it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be property, it has to be money. It is what you want, what you feel about somebody. Probably, who knows, probably the person led to why he's dying also. So it has to be what you want to happen. It mustn't even be property. It can be a way of blessing. Okay, my son, my daughter, I'm leaving you, be prosperous and all that.
Yes.
Whatever you want, that is what is stated there. So it's usually not about property, money, cars, houses and all that, no.
But let's get back to the question of the single lady. She does have needs, and she's not likely to remain single for the rest of her life.
Thank you.
She's going to marry someday, and if she marries, her husband has equal right to whatever asset that she has. It's a journey of love.
She probably
and
will
she's
still
going to have
children.
children. They also, it's really a way to give leg up. You know, what this does, it's really about legacy. You leave a will and you give a leg up to someone, and that person is not able to start from zero. They're starting from somewhere, and they get a little higher. Their children do better, and then they get a little higher. You see, that is how prosperity is built.
Exactly. You know,
This is how prosperity is built, so that everybody don't have to start from ground zero.
Exactly.
That my father doesn't have anything doesn't mean we can't move a step further.
Yes.
That's really what it does. And eventually, we'll all be better off for it, really, if it's done right.
Lynette, we're going to add something.
Yeah, I was going to say, for me, my take, I'm a practicing Christian, and my Bible tells me that a good father leaves inheritance for his children and children's children. To back up what she said, it's a leg up, and then it can move continually, especially if there's a proper legacy, especially if you train the children on how to prosper, how to manage your estate. Then they become a part of it and they won't squander it. I began to make money at the age of 10. I'm very unique, so I've been told. When all of these were going on, I saw that the condition of my classmate was so bad, and but he's doing well today. To God be the glory. And I asked myself, if my father dies now, what will happen to me? You know what? I don't want my standard to reduce, so I need to find a way to make money. And guess what? I began to make exercise books. Yeah, I was good at drawing, so I sat down and I thought about it. My dad had a very beautiful paper cutting machine, so I used my exercise books, measured, and then I began to draw. and use cardboard sheets, staple it, and then take it to school and sell. To even parents, yes, and my neighbors. So the parents were encouraged, and they would buy these books to encourage me. Until the day,
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, until the day I saw a printed version of what I had drawn. So I knew life was not fair, because I ran to Daddy. I was like, Daddy, look, I saw
Somebody's
someone
taking my
with
market.
my book, the same name. And he's like, oh, then you need to stop production. I said, no, but it's mine. He said, the person can sue you to court. And for me, that was when I knew that life wasn't fair, and I need to safeguard everything that I own. So the truth is, the will just safeguards the life of your children and your loved ones when you're no longer here.
Definitely. When you talked about trying to earn money because you don't want to be left in the rain, or get to sleep in a doghouse,
yes,
it's a reminder of what happens in certain parts of Nigeria, where I'm from, where the matrilineal system, happens. What are people basically do? That's why it's like the ladies are very hard working, because they understand that this may just be the scenario. If your husband is not around,
exactly.
And right from day one, they are taught how to do a lot of things.
Exactly.
They are tigers when it comes to making money.
Yes.
But I also notice that we're not in a hurry to change that custom, because it's it benefits the man, because he feels protected. Like you said, tell somebody to write a will, he tell you, you want to kill me. So the women don't want their husbands to suddenly drop dead. So there is extra effort to make sure your husband fits well, so he doesn't die, your husband is safe, so that you guys can die, happy old age, and then that goes on. But let's quickly take more. Good morning. Honestly, I love this topic, and on will and inheritance. My grandfather didn't write a will before he died, trusting his children and grandchildren to behave well. But the elders in my family gave every piece of a land over 20 hectares to a certain person. Now that boy has squandered the land, sold it all off. Now he is homeless and dying. And then this person writes in capital letter. Her name is Victoria. She writes in capital letter. To write a will is very good. Culture and tradition are wicked. It's not all now. All of them are not wicked. I understand you, but it's not all of them. So let's quickly take some more. Good morning. I love your show. I've learned a lot from you guys. May God bless you. Oche Sunday from Benue State. Thank you, Oche. Good morning. Like in Benin tradition, when a woman has no children for the man, she does not have a say on the property of the will. What should happen? Born, get.
You see, we cannot overstress this issue. What the main function or advantage of a will is what the testator wants it to happen to him after his demise. Where a testator says, my wife, whether she has a kid or not, should benefit from my property. Nobody. Especially, like I said, where a will is written, where he left a will, no custom or tradition can supersede. It's as simple as that. So whether she has a kid or not, if the husband so desired that she should inherit him, no custom or tradition should come in place. It should be challenged.
Okay. You're actually right, because sometimes people even will out, like you said, to charity. So those charity didn't give birth to the man.
Exactly.
So you can will out to your,
your church.
Yes.
To the favorite charity.
Exactly. So
to universities. I'm looking forward to when every day we want to complain about the school, about the hospital systems. If you went to a hospital and you really got good care there, will something to them.
To the hospital.
If you got to a hospital and the situation is so poor, you didn't get good care, you almost died, will something. Build a hospital wing and name it after you in your will.
Exactly.
Build a university hostel and have it be named. Most schools, most villages have primary schools that are crumbling. Build. Don't even wait to the will. Build one. And at your demise, let all the money go into building and running schools in your village. Then it doesn't just benefit only your children, it benefits the whole community.
Exactly.
Just leave legacies, really.
That's very important. Good morning, moderator. I want to know and ask in the program, does Islam recognize will I think you already did that. That's
about
grabbed from Kaduna. You want to quickly just touch that briefly because there's so many messages
Everything
there.
that has to do with inheritance under the Islamic system, right, is embedded in the Holy Quran and the hadiths of the Holy Prophet. The hadith is his practice while alive, and the Holy Quran. These are the two main things that guides what should happen to one's inheritance.
So what you're saying is Islam do not recognize a will.
I won't say, because that is a will, so to say. That is another way of distribution of one's property. What is a will? A will is...
If this is what is in the hadith,
yes,
and I came and I wrote what I want, if it is contrary to what is in the hadith, which one should carry more
the thing
weight?
is that as long as you're a subscriber, a Muslim, you can't go outside of it. You can't go outside of it.
What if I want to?
Well, that is
the question this person is asking. What if I chose to? Will my will be recognized, or
I've
will
not seen
maybe
where it has been, probably where it has been tested in court. I don't know what will be the outcome.
It's a question we need to throw to
Yeah,
them
maybe
out
we'll
there.
have to.
Okay,
we'll
so
do more
while you're
research
throwing
on
it, to
that.
take some more. The writing of a will doesn't automatically silence a custom. A custom can also be effective even in the presence of a will if such custom has been judicially noticed by the Supreme Court of Record. See Section 16 and 17 of the Evident Art. In this regard, I stand to differ with my learned friend here, where he said that a will takes preeminence without having regards to its exceptions. See the case of Olowo versus Olowo Kotsi. That's the person writing, Jemmy Divine. Thank you, Jemmy, for that insight. But if we go to explain now, we may not be able to finish this. So I quickly say, good morning. We'll walk in Islam, but with condition for will work in Islam, but with condition. For instance, if a father have a total of 10 million and he writes a will, that 10 million should all be given to one of his sons while he has 5 sons. You see, in that case, it's not going to work, you know, as a comrade Ladan from Nasarawa State. So that the will definitely will not work in that situation. So I guess that answers a bit of the question you've been asking. Thanks for the good job. Islam has defined who gets what. Those who are qualified are father, mother, son, daughter, grandmother, grandfather. So it says it's a shrine in the Quran. Some will challenge these days. Why? It's you already answered that. It's because when it's not properly done, you definitely want to seek redress. Good morning. I love your program. I'm Michael. Okay, thank you, Michael from Enugu, for liking our program. Good morning, ma. My brother there just said no custom or tradition should be above the will, but could not agree with that when it came to Islamic law. I think you may need to address that issue just before we go. But good morning, I'm Bolaji from Osun State. My question is, can a woman do will for her husband?
You can't think for anyone.
Will is a personal thing. You do your
You do your
will.
will.
She can do her will. Her husband does his will.
Exactly.
Okay, so this question for me is too prone. You know, whether the woman can help the husband arrange the will. When is that will? It's no longer will.
It's no longer a will.
Okay, it's influence, like you said. But then, whether a woman can have a will,
Why not?
and the husband is a beneficiary
Of course.
Okay, so it's doable.
It's your will. It's what you
It's what you want.
to happen to you after your demise. So whatever you want.
But let's
As a
hope
matter
that
of
the
fact,
will is not contrary to what the wife wants.
Will. One of the amazing thing about will, especially for women, is that the will gives you wings. I think that's a good phrase. Will gives you wings.
I know,
Yes.
right?
Some things that you might not be able to really enforce while you're alive, your will can actually ensure that is enforced when, because oftentimes the conversation we don't have, a man is free to give his resources to whom he wants, but the woman's resources is seen as the man's, and you may not have the capacity to do what you want with it, you know.
She can has the liberty to do whatever she wants.
Okay, so good morning. I think the best solution to solve the problem of culture and tradition on the issues of girl-child inheritance is for the father to apportion the property to the girl while he's alive to avoid cultural conflict. I think you mentioned something like, while you're alive, please do something so that it's not when you're dead. You know, there's no need really hiding what you have from your children. I enjoy the interesting conversation. Bless you, and thanks for the knowledge. Opeyemi from Osun State. Thank you, Osun people. Your light is working.
That's good.
That's good. Good morning, Mars and Sars. Please, let's put our culture and tradition from inheritance. I forced my daddy to write it on his sick bed. Unknown to his brother, he demanded for his car key and the table turn around. Factory documents after 2 weeks of his departure. Okay, so he's insisting that we should write our will, and he had to do his own. This one, he forced somebody to write on dead bed. Is it normal? Is it accepted?
I wouldn't want to see it that he forced him against his will. You can convince him. Exactly. You can convince him if you never had one before that period. Of course, it should be something you are doing voluntarily.
And when at least the doctor needs to certify that you're not mentally deranged, that you're not in a confused state where someone can influence you. So that's really important.
My time is no longer mine, and a lot is still coming here. Simon Peter from Owerri. Okay, and I can't take all the messages, but we'll try to talk to you even after the program is done. If we do have the opportunity, we may just continue this discussion next week, especially those who are thinking about tradition and will and religion and all of that. But the basic thing is, I think that we should be able to write our will. And if you love your family, every single thing you have should be on the table. Everybody should know about it. And there should be no fear of who takes what. Thank you very much for coming. Doctor, you were fire. All right. I'll see you again next week.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome. It's time for another interesting package of
Everything Music.
Angelina, you the cool in my temperature. If you call, I go come deliver.
This is Talking Movies.
In times of old, the world was full of wonder.
Welcoming